Hey guys, hopefully you can hear us. My apologies for being late. I worked last night and I still gotta feed my dogs. We have a speaker. Hi Stacia, hi Shorty Pie, Carissa, Simply Karen, Lisa, thank you very much. Does somebody have YouTube going on in the background? One of you guys? Gina?
No.
Okay. I hear like something.
Nope.
I heard an echo, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
Usually you hear an echo when there's something going on in the background.
No, I
Uh,
don't.
all right. So Gina's gonna tell us. Yeah, this is driving me crazy.
I know. I can hear it too. I don't know what it is.
But I don't hear it when you speak.
Me?
I don't hear it.
No.
Gina, can you speak?
Yeah. Is it? I don't have anything on except
No, no,
for.
no. Okay. Well, let me see. Maybe it's me. Hello? Nope. I don't know what it is. But I'm not gonna speak. Gina's gonna speak, guys. This is Gina. She's gonna share her story. And I'm gonna shut up because this is horrible. So
Right? Nothing's on.
no, that's me.
Oh, okay.
I think it's something on my end. So, Gina, if you would share your story, that would be awesome.
Okay.
All right, guys, this is Gina. Gina's going to share her story.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Gina. Maybe some people know, maybe some people don't. My family was actually on intervention because that was how desperate we finally got. We personally had a really positive experience with it, but the road getting there was extreme, and it's the reason why my family daughter, we finally what we call, we've decided to come out of hiding. I feel like we've been. I started a Facebook group about 2 years ago. I did nothing with it because I'm always afraid. I realized that we are still hiding. I always live in constant fear, of the repercussions or judgment, or so many times my family has reached out for help, over the years when my kids were younger, and it all was a punishment. So a couple of years ago, my daughter said, "Okay, I think that I'm in a good place now, and I think that we're ready." So we did set up a Facebook, hiding. We named it Hiding in Plain Sight NJ, and I've done nothing with it, just because I was unsure what to do with it, and I didn't want it to be all anger based. Like I just didn't want it to be so aggressive. Of how angry we are, of all the things that happen to us, because there's some really great stuff that has happened along the way. But I think from my family, a lot of it was we just didn't know what to do. We just kept reaching out, and it was one dead end, or it was worse. I reached out to the school, and it was either they didn't know what to do with us, or they just completely punished us. We were reported nonstop. If my kids didn't go to school because they were being picked on, or because we had a really bad night with Alicia, my daughter, if we couldn't find her and the family was, searching for her and the kids didn't go to school, I would reach out and I would try to explain, and there was no, there was no support. It was a complete punishment. It was like, oh, if you can't get them here, then we have to report you, or they would take me to court, which became this whole punishment loop almost. And I did realize that that's why so many people hide, because they can't get the help they need and they don't want to be punished. Nobody wants to reach out for help and have child services, show up on their doorstep to only make things worse, only to terrorize you more, only to make my kids scared, make me scared. It makes you want to run and hide. It doesn't make you want to reach out for help. So we did it. So we hid.
Exactly. We talked about this. Gina and I had a conversation. We have, similar stories. I even had, law enforcement judge and treat us badly. And, the schools and anybody you thought was there for help were judging. So you tend to shy away and just not ask for the help anymore. So I totally understand what you're saying. I totally get it.
It should, in part of my brain, I understand it. I do. People judge. It's what people do. But it was so extreme. It's like you said, even law enforcement, they behaved like almost like, because it was what people deem self-inflicted, which, me and you talked about this. I understand that it's self-inflicted. So they don't want to help you. They want to say to you, oh, well, she did it to herself. She's out there, if she wants to be found, she wants to be found. And, and I even had one law enforcement say something to me like they wish I would stop calling. I when she would disappear, I would start making my rounds, my phone calls, and they were like, we wish you would stop calling. She doesn't want to be found. If she wanted to be found, she'll turn up when she needs money, or the alternative, she'll turn up literally when her body turns up, is what he was saying to me.
Right.
And again, I understand because somebody had said to me, she did this to herself. And it was a medical professional. And I was thinking, medical professionals are the ones who are calling it a disease, right? And for a long time, I was myself as the mother, I was on the fence with that. I because it wasn't explained to me, or because I couldn't wrap my brain around it, I didn't understand. They kept calling it a disease, because I kept thinking, well, if you disease, why aren't you treating? And then I thought, well, how could it be a disease? Again, because it's self-inflicted. It took a long time to realize, from my family, I'm not speaking for everyone, the disease was mental illness. And it's such a long history of it, but it doesn't matter, because as soon as somebody hears drugs are involved, everything changes. I mean, I've sat in rooms with people having a conversation, and the minute you could almost feel it, that that it, like it's changed for you. It's like they've deemed you a very different level. And it's almost like, we don't want to catch it.
Yep. I know that feeling.
Yeah. Me and you have talked about this. It was something that I told you. I had a neighbor that crossed the street, and I laughed, and I said, they really think it's contagious. And maybe it is, right? Because, there's influences, there's, nobody wants their kid around your kid, and so on. And it becomes this whole circle, instead of us coming together and putting out our hands. You really do hide, because you don't know what else to do.
Right. You're right. And, like I said, again, the people that are there to help are the ones judging. The police would treat you get singled out. If you have a child struggling, then right away you're criminals. Your house gets watched. They pull you over when you leave your house. Right away you're bad people.
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely. And bad, clearly where, and I keep using this word, bad parents. Like it's the whole thing. It's like, it doesn't matter what you try to do, or how you try. Because I've realized this, that I had done this, that I made sure that everything on the outside was pristine. To this day, I told you that if you drove past my house now, you would, from the outside, you would think everything. And I hadn't realized that I had done that until somebody had said something to me, because people don't think you deserve anything. You're an addict, your kid's an addict, your kid's been in trouble. Like, it's you people truly believe you don't deserve that because they worked harder. Their kids didn't, stray. Their kids didn't get in any trouble. So why should you all have anything? And people do that because it's been said to me. It's a very strange thing. It is also the very first thing people point out too. I've heard somebody say, these aren't things that I've made up. I've heard somebody say, oh, I know your house, it's this and this. And then somebody else say, yeah, but, like, as if I'm not even standing there.
Right.
And I've always made this joke, and I say, wow, it is a good thing I don't have any feelings, because that would have really hurt.
Yeah, people are heartless until they go through it.
Well, yeah.
And I think if you've never had to deal with it, you don't know what we're talking about. You don't know.
Yeah. And I'm happy. Truly, if you've navigated and you've come out I'm almost jealous, right? It's like, I don't know, I'm thrilled for you because it's miserable. No parent they just shouldn't have to live with that. And I know that it sounds bad, but because, again, I'm using that word, and it's only because it's said to me so often, even to this day, the self-inflicted thing. It's like, they did it to themselves, but they did it to themselves because they're not understanding the dynamic. They're not understanding, this isn't my child didn't get up one day and say, it would be so fun. I'd love to live in the street for years and years and years and shoot up using puddle water. I think that would be, like so much fun. There's so many things that take place. There's generational drug addiction in most of these families, and the mental illness aspect of it. If you start looking and tracing it back, it's all there. Just people just hid it. Some people hide better than others. Me, I don't know. I had a flag, I guess, on my front lawn that said, here we are.
Right. I know, Gino used to say to me, Mom, I don't want to be like this. He would cry to me. He didn't want to be like this. He couldn't help it. He wanted to do the right thing, but he just kept saying, you don't understand. And I really didn't understand. And I don't claim to know it all now either, but I mean, obviously they don't want, people just assume, well, they pick up the needle and shoot it in their arm. They want to be like that. No,
right.
It's, they don't have a choice. It's that or be sick. And the being sick part is horrible.
Horrible. It's so miserable. It's miserable for a parent to watch, right?
Yes.
You're watching your kids suffer. And I understand there's different things, because somebody, again, this is just things that people have said to me that just have stayed. Somebody said to me, don't think you're going to get any sympathy from me, like as if I wanted any, because there's so many children that, that have cancer. And I'm sure their parents, they think what you're saying is, is ridiculous. Like, don't compare. I never would. I'm just saying that whatever made them use to begin with had to be so horrible, because to this day I can't imagine. Same thing with your child being okay with sticking a needle in their arm, or getting to the point where you're in such pain that you need more and more and more. And I don't just mean physical pain, because the physical pain is real. I watched it. I watched her, which I'm sure you did. And she would say to me, I hate this. I wish I could stop. This is horrible. I'm in all kinds of pain. And it's hard to watch as a parent. It's hard to watch as anybody, I would think.
Yeah, it is. So I think I saw in the comments, Gina, that somebody wanted to know if anything changed after going on the show. I don't know exactly. I think that's what it was. So that was a question for you.
Oh, the intervention?
Intervention. Did anything change?
Yes. So intervention, I can't say enough good things. Whether my daughter said she was ready, which is huge. She was as close to, it was so close that at one point I didn't think that she was going to make it during the filming of intervention. But she had 2 overdoses just in the time frame between them coming, the filming, the whole event. Yes. The thing that I always talk about is it's so frustrating, because if you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to really get what you're not really. Also, for them, then they knew that I could have never found the resources they found. I tried. It was years and years and years. So after she came back, things had changed for her. What the pressure for her was, my whole family was just in limbo, like waiting for her now to get all these tools and all this amazing stuff that she got there, because it was a good experience for her. It was great, actually. At one point, I went there and I wanted to stay. When she came home, we were all expecting her to fix all of us now, because we're all left behind. Not only we all left behind, because now the addict, right, the squeaky wheel, she went and she got all this stuff. We're all still just left in this stew, I guess. And then and then it moved on to my son. So a lot of things changed for the good from the show. My daughter is still doing well. She's still good. She's had 2 children, 2 beautiful girls that I never thought I was ever going to have, because of course somewhere in there I just always thought that I would lose her. So it was never a thought to have these brilliant. If somebody took the time to get to know an addict, they're mostly brilliant. Think about what they do on a day-to-day. Her daughter's brilliant, like shockingly brilliant. So a lot of things have changed, and some things kind of stayed the same, like the family. Like, I'm still struggling, because it's all I was for all these years was the mother of addicts. It was my only role in life. And now it's like, now what? So that's kind of where we are now, which is why we wanted to talk about it, because I said to her one day, I think that you have a lot to offer, and she wants to give back. She's like, you guys went through hell and back to save me. So many people don't have that. They just don't.
It's true.
So I want to address something, if I could, right here. I don't know what's going on, man. What's going on? Let me see something. Hang on. All right, I wanted. Gonna have to change microphones, because I'm just gonna drive me crazy.
Yeah, it's echoing every time you talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to change microphones. Go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
So Gina, how is your son? Everything's okay with your son?
So my son,
you don't have to answer if you don't want. I'm just.
Yeah. So my son is doing well. He had a different, like, there's all different, and there just are. People could say no, but there's all different levels of addicts, and then what they use. And
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, like it just is like they just shouldn't be all lumped in. Right. His experience was very, very different. He's doing really well now. But it even for him, like, it's a constant give and take. But he's so much better than he was. And it's really, and he'll laugh and he'll say to me, you're more of the addict than we are. He's like, you're so scared all the time, and so you're just all over us, and you're always watching and whatever. And it's but he's good. Thank you. Like he's
good. You know, that always worrying, you know, as a parent, and how we're always watching them, and, you know, we can't help that because we never know, you know. And I think I shared with you with Gino, I had always been on edge when he moved back home after Corey passed away. Every night it was like I had to make sure he was sleeping before I went to sleep. And, you know, the night that he passed away, everybody on this show knows I take lots of medications for my mental health. And I also take sleeping pills. And I hadn't taken one since Gino moved back home. But the night he died, I felt so good and so comfortable. Like he wasn't thinking about using, hadn't used in 2 years. I took a sleeping pill that night. And it's like, you know, I sit and think, well, if I didn't take it, could I have saved him? You know, you have all this, I guess, guilt, doubt, you know, but the only thing I ever said, and some people took it the wrong way, after Gino passed away, I said, well, now I don't have to worry anymore because I know where he is. And people took that the wrong way. Because and I didn't want him to be dead. Trust me, I wish he was still here. But until you've gone through it, you don't understand that statement that I made, you know, about now I know where he is. I don't have to worry. I can breathe again.
I just took it when you said it. I just took a deep breath, because unless you couldn't understand that. You know what I mean? Like it sounds so horrible, but it's of course you don't want him. Why? Who would want their kid gone? I've told you this. It was how this intervention came to me. I don't, you have to believe in something, I guess. Sometimes I'm on the fence with that too. I wonder how people pick and choose, and why this one, when this one is clearly should be long gone. But that's how it came to me. I was in my office once again, not answering phones and not working, and because I was, didn't know where she was, and I said it out loud. I said, okay, it's time. You either got to take her or you have to give her back, but we can't stay like this.
Right.
And who wants her to be taken?
Exactly.
Nobody should ever for any circumstances bury their child. No one ever, no matter what. But at that point, I understand what you said, because it's all encompassing, and it's like, okay, now now he's not suffering, now you don't, it's just of course you don't want that. It's a ridiculous thing for somebody to say to you.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to say something. I'm still getting that weird sound. Not as bad. All right, Milo, it's cooking. So somebody, Zoe Bowler, wrote in the chat, I don't know how to take this stuff, so I'm sensitive. I understand, but she left, so I'm taking it, I assume, the right way. I asked her, she said, here, something to the effect of, here, we don't know the difference between a drug addict and somebody who is using recreational drugs. That's not true. We've had conversations about drug addicts and people that abuse drugs. Let me be 1,000,000% clear. I am no longer a counselor, and as far as I know, none of these women are counselors. What we're doing is talking about things that are hard for people. I'm cooking rice, and that's what he's waiting for it. Sorry. He doesn't understand. His sister's starting to eat his ear now. But anyway, we are not on here as counselors. We're on here as people sharing a story, putting a platform up for people to relate and share stories. We've always said, if you've got an emergency, go see somebody. I no longer carry a K-sack, and I don't want to carry a K-sack, but to open up and have a place where we can meet and find a safe place to speak, that's what this is about. It's not always about drugs either. It's about just getting through the week and stuff. So it bothers me. I'm sorry. And I've had a rough couple days. It bothers me when somebody makes a comment like that and just leaves. Nobody claimed at all that, first of all, we've talked about this several times, that topic. And again, if you need a counselor, go get a counselor. This isn't what this is. This is where we can meet and talk. And Gina, I have been listening to your story, and I think what I'd like to talk to you about, or what I want for you to think about, is I think that we should have like a network of channels that hold these meetings, because you'll have people that want to hear you, and then they'll hear somebody else and they'll say, oh man, I relate to that story. And if we help one person, I mean, that's really just the goal, is helping the one person. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to interrupt anymore, but I do want you to think about that. And if it's something you want to do, hit me up on my email. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Definitely interested, and I agree with what you said about the comment. I wonder if she's, I don't know, I can't see it, I don't know what she's referring, the person is referring to. Is it maybe because I said there's so many different levels and she's, and not lumping everybody? I don't know. But like you said, I'm certainly not a counselor. I'm certainly not an expert in, although sometimes I think I am, but I'm clearly not. So.
Yeah, exactly. But please continue on with your story. So the story is about your daughter who had the problem, and how the whole family has to endure that. And I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that. And it doesn't have to be that that person was using drugs or alcohol. It could be somebody who went through bad behavior with their kids.
Oh,
it could
yeah.
be somebody who's stealing. It could be anything. So I think a lot of people can relate and understand this. So please continue. I'm sorry. His rice is almost ready. 13 seconds.
That's so funny. I know how the dog feels. My stomach is growling too. Rice is pretty good.
So you said, Gina, your daughter wants to give back. What are some of the thoughts of something she might like to do? I mean, I know you said like you contacted schools and they just kind of close the door in your face. They don't want to be bothered.
Yeah. No.
We thought maybe of being an addictions counselor or something. Did she think about that?
So we're trying to figure it out, like how she, how she can give back, because now remember she's got these two little girls,
Right.
that don't know anything yet, and she's also a little afraid about that, because it's already happened. Remember how we talked about how it's the first thing that people throw up, like it's the first thing that it's just there. It's almost like they're keeping it in their little pocket, and they're waiting for you to almost have success, or whatever that is for you, right? Or to move on, or to feel it's almost seems that way. It might not be, but it does seem that way, like they're just waiting for it. And for Alicia, she's like, I think that, we should do something. I should be able to give back. Like, so much was done for me. Let us get on there and talk about what was the good, what was the bad, what worked for us, what didn't. She wants to talk about so many things, like the detox, the revolving door, and these, and I'm not saying it for everybody. I'm sure there's some great ones out there. We haven't come across these little halfway houses or these sober living things. So for her, as soon as she started talking about it and venturing out, she had someone immediately. It was like it was so fast. And I always tell my kids this, and it's just, anytime they went to like a meeting, or they went away to rehab or anything, or sober living, I would always say to them the same thing: don't make any friends. Right. Don't make friends. Just don't do that. And they would always laugh. And I'm like, no, seriously, don't make any friends. It sounds bad because you want community and you want this. It just never It's just never working out, not while you're in recovery yourself. And the first thing the person did is she moved to a new house with her daughters to start fresh. And of course, they're little girls. They want to go out. They want to play. And I said to her, they don't need any friends. They don't need friends. They'll make friends in college. They don't need friends. Come here and let them stay hiding, right? Come hide behind the fence. Like, keep them behind my fence back here where we could keep them safe in their little bubble where, where the world can't get to them. But it doesn't work like that, right? They have to go to school. And so, of course, the kids made friends. And the first thing the mother did, which is so bizarre, I don't think I've ever Googled anybody that I could think of. Like, I don't care. She Googled Alicia, my daughter. And of course, that's the first thing that came up was the episode of intervention. Plus, you can look up anybody's criminal background, which is such an invasion of privacy, but you can. Everything will come up. This woman did this and then went from house to house to house. It's a community in Englishtown. Everybody's pretty much attached, townhouses. She went like like the telephone game. She went from house to house, sharing it with everybody, and to turn everyone against Alicia. But you only hurt the kids. You didn't. Right. Alicia was a grown woman. Alicia was like, go whatever. The kids, you hurt the kids. She went around saying, I heard her children were born crack babies. They were not. That's so disgusting and so unfair. Right? And it made Alicia kind of, she said to me, because our instincts are always the same, hide, run, whatever. And I'm like, and my first instinct was, I said to my husband, we have to pull her out of there. We have to take her out of there. We have to pull her out of there. We have to find her another place. We have to hide her, bring her back here. Like, and he was like, she did nothing wrong. It's on that woman. And I understand that, but it's still, so it was still so mean. So now my daughter is she wants to do this, right? She wants to do a podcast. She wants to help me. I've been trying to write a book for 4 years, which I just can't get out of my own way because I start writing and then I get hysterical and cry, and then I'm like, this is horrible. I don't want to do this anymore. She wants to do all these things, but now we have to kind of be back to square one. Should we go back to hiding now? Because now we don't want the kids hurt. So what do you do?
Well, you got to tell the truth. Sorry. I'm going to pop right in here now.
Agreed.
You got to tell the truth and you got to wear it proudly.
I do. I don't hide anything. I tell probably more than most people want to know, because I got tired of hiding, and
yeah,
I know.
I want to apologize to Zoe. I do want to apologize to Zoe because she was talking about recreational use and people accusing people of being drug addicts when they're just recreational. Like somebody, like I was called drunk and a drug addict because I smoke weed and I don't drink, so I don't know where that came from. But I get it, and I'm sorry, Zoe. I thought you were talking about in here in this group, so I apologize for that. But you gotta tell Gina, you gotta tell people the truth, because once somebody has I don't know why I'm having a hard time here with this. Once somebody has something on you that they weaponize, you know what I'm saying? Like then they will always have something over your head.
Agreed. I think that's why we're ready to finally come out. It's why I even named it that. The hiding in plain sight. It's because we were here all along. It's just we just gave people, we let them weaponize us, and now we're not ashamed. Honestly, like I said to my daughter, I'll go outside, but if I'll stick the flag in my front lawn, like at this point, you all know who we are. Like, you're just pretending so that you could say mean stuff and be whoever you are. We're not ashamed. Like, what a lot of
You shouldn't be
families
ashamed
do
of
that.
success. That's
Yeah.
a success story. You shouldn't be ashamed of success.
Yeah.
And you know that what's really weird is that this hits I know so many people that have gone through and lived through this, that it shouldn't be this anymore. It shouldn't be the stigma that it is.
Yeah, you would think that, right?
Yeah, I would think that, but I think wrong sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, me too. Because people, remember, people still measure their success kind of by other people.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Comparison. Yep,
Yes,
comparison. Yep.
absolutely. So I've had, and I say friends, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, they really weren't. But I hung on way longer than I should have. That have come and have said things to me, which is what really just pushed me out there. And I've had a relative who doesn't think that my kids or me or my husband deserve anything, like nothing. When Intervention aired, our plumbing business in Brooklyn, it took a hit that I was not prepared for. People really believed that we were contagious, that we were, I don't know what they thought, but they did not want us in their houses. It took long to recover. So nobody saw all that time period when people didn't want to let us in their house. It's bizarre, and I understand it. It's, people they're going to do what they're going to do. They took it out on us.
Well, you know why they did it. There's a few reasons why people don't want to let you in their house. So one, if you have kids their age or younger, then they don't, they're afraid of that. Two, the drug addicts, unfortunately, and it's sometimes it's true, are known as thieves. So why would they want them in their house? They got to hide all their shit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I hate to tell you, but this is what comes with it. And this is why it is so important to take care of your reputation, because it precedes you. And it takes a long time to change somebody's opinion of you. And that's only if they allow you to. That they have to allow themselves to want to see that change. If they don't want to, then what's that Demi Moore saying? You can only be who you are if somebody sees you that way, or however she put it. She put it a lot more eloquently than me.
Makes sense. Yeah, I do. I get that. I get not wanting my children, if that's how if that's how you saw them. This was this And I get that. Seriously. Like, I've had so many neighborhood kids because my son would bring home every stray, every whatever, and they would rob us. And I'd have them in the house again because they broke my heart, right? Because they weren't getting the support that my children was. So of course, then I had, that weird guilt. I'm talking about like our plumbing business in New York. Like, they didn't want to use our company as if we were going to bring onto them. It didn't make sense to me, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, people just are seeing, all this crazy chaos or whatever, and they're just like, nope, we'll use a company that didn't put their dirty laundry, so to speak, out on their front lawn.
Yeah, your whole family was judged based on your child's illness.
Yes.
And I get that. I'm still judged to this day, and I don't care. I wear it proudly. Whatever. Yep. I'm the mom of the kid who died in my living room, and my grandson was murdered. Yeah, that's me. I deserved it all. I deserved it. I did something wrong.
Yes.
That's what people think. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean,
I'm amazed by that. I told you, like, when I think me and you had this conversation, that when we had heard.
Wait a minute. I gotta say something.
Sure.
So this sounds a lot better, doesn't it?
I
don't hear anything except good, right?
Oh yeah, I
fucked it
do
up.
this better.
Anyway, no, because now I hear it again. Just like I misread Zoe, I think sometimes some of the stuff, I'm not saying all the time, ladies, and I'm not at all trying to not, I don't want to tell you how to feel. That's the last thing I want to do. But I think sometimes we put that shit in our own heads. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, unless somebody says it, like a bad day on the look of somebody's face could mean that they're thinking about me, and that's not always the case. I think sometimes we take things on. I just did it with Zoe. You know what I'm saying? I just did it with
All right.
Zoe here. So I think sometimes it's not. I think sometimes I think that's true that there are people like that, but I don't think it's as many as we think. I think that there's a lot of our own thinking that gets in the way as well.
Absolutely. Take
You
things
know.
personally that are not even about us. It's very, very hard to separate, because in your mind that's all you're thinking. You're just thinking they know, they're judging, they know, sometimes it's not even that.
Right. I just know, like my experience, though, law enforcement in my local area, very judgmental.
Shocking. I'm right in the neighborhood. It was shocking. The treat. It was shocking. People's I was amazed by that. Where was all the empathy? Where was just
None.
shocking?
Like I said, to this day, if my house is burning down, I'll turn my own hose on. I'm not calling 911. I don't want the police at my house. I don't need them at my house. They don't do anything for me. And I still feel very strongly. I don't need them to save my life. I'll save my own. I don't want them touching me. I don't want them in my home. I can't help it. I'm sure there's a couple good police officers out there somewhere, but I haven't seen them yet. And I just don't want to be bothered with them. I have no use for the police department. EMS, none of it. I'll take care of my own.
Isn't that sad?
It is. And I can't get past that because there's not one who's shown me any, I don't even know what the word is. They're there to serve and protect all people, I thought, and that's not the case. And I've learned
Not the case. That is so not the case. Where is the humanity? Let's forget about it. You're not even asking for sympathy. You're just asking for a common human decency. It's shocking. It's the only way I could say that. And like you said, I'm sure there's plenty that are it's just very hard when you haven't had that experience.
right.
To not yourself.
I always, I was raised to respect authority, police officers, teachers, all that. I raised my kids the same way. And then, now I feel a little differently about that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I always taught my kids, you can trust the police, you can go to them, they're going to help you. And now I don't preach that so much,
No, and that it all makes me feel really sad. I know that you had asked about my son. My son said something to me just yesterday. Just yesterday, I was over at his house. He was barbecuing, and he said to me, "I think that he has a son. This little piece of perfection that he's got," and he said to me, "I think that we're going to homeschool him," and I said, "Okay." Like, I tried to homeschool my kids. It was for us, it was brutal because the state was still regulating my homeschooling. They were still showing up here to tell me what I was doing wrong. But if you do it right from the beginning, and if you do it the right way, and I said to him, why? He said, I can't imagine sending this, like, he's looking at his son, with these eyes of, he said, I can't imagine subjecting him to what we went through in school. He said, I can't do it. We're not going to send him. We're going to homeschool him. And I was just, it was twofold for me, right? Like, it's a double-edged sword. I looked at my son and I said, oh my God, look at my son. He loves this is beautiful. Like, he doesn't. And then I felt guilt that they felt so unprotected in school, and that I didn't like you said, we were taught this. I taught them to go to school. You listened, you behaved, you did. The experience was so horrendous that he doesn't want to send his kid to school. He doesn't want to subject him, and I understand it. And I said to him, what about the social aspects? Because you don't want to isolate him. He said, don't worry about it. I'll take him to the park. We'll take him to this. We'll do. He's fine. He'll be around his cousins. He'll be social. He's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not sending him to school.
Wow.
It's very sad, and it should not be.
No, it's
So wasn't it Buddha? Was it Buddha that, or yeah, was it Buddha that, or Gandhi? It was Gandhi, right? That his parents didn't let him out until like they'd clean the streets. Did you know that? Like,
I
No.
didn't know that.
yeah. So when it was Gandhi when he was a child. Like his parent, like he came from all this money. He was like a prince or something, and
Wow.
they would clean the streets so that when he would walk outside, he wouldn't see he wouldn't see beggars. He wouldn't see
Right.
that. I don't know what's going on with this, but anyway, so and then one day he snuck out, and they didn't know, and he saw the world. And that's why he gave his life the way he did, and he led the life that he led.
Huh.
That he was protected from that. You can't, like, I'm not telling you how to raise your kids, and I know you're not asking, and this is just a topic of conversation, but the world is cruel, and it's going to be cruel either later on in life, and you won't have the tools to know what to do with it, or it's going to be cruel now. I don't know why this is not the microphone. This is something else. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
I don't hear it like steady. It just seems like it's like a little.
Yeah, it's only when I speak.
Ah.
Only when I speak.
Yeah, I agree
Here's
with you.
somebody. Here's
do.
somebody. Kathleen homeschooled her kids. 1980 millennial was homeschooled. She shared that.
I homeschooled Brianna and Nicole for middle school after we had an incident in Monroe Township with bullying. They were homeschooled for a year, and then I sent them to Catholic school, and then they went back to high school, but in a different district. But it wasn't a bad experience, the homeschooling. It went well. I didn't really have to do it. It was all online, and there were teachers that they could communicate back and forth with. So if it was up to me, they wouldn't have learned a thing, because I can't even do fourth grade math anymore. So, but it wasn't a horrible experience. But they'd already had friends. It wasn't like they started and never went to school. So I didn't worry so much about them not being social, because they'd had friends and made friends already. So I just did it, like I said, for a year, just for them to take a break and get themselves back to get their mental health back in order.
Yeah, I did it too.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Catholic school was the best choice I made for them. I mean, they may not agree, but what a different community. We were embraced. Everybody was like a big family. It was just so different than public school. And I mean, I can't say enough good about the Catholic school.
I have to agree with you. My daughter put her daughters into Catholic school.
Yeah.
Just because we were, I never, like I said, I never expected to have them to begin with, and we're still here. So, my daughter said to me, "What do we do now? We're putting them right back into this whole, and I know that people we can't hide them, and we can't put them in bubbles, even though that would be a great thing for me."
Right.
And sometimes you get what you get from the experience. You make the bet. We just didn't want to chance it. So we put them in Catholic school, and it's in 3 towns over. So we kind of still hiding a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Ours was a few towns away too.
It seems like there's a lot of people that are homeschooling here.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the comments that are homeschooling.
I see
I
that.
forced the school to, at one point, because my kids were being so bullied because of the Alicia thing, once intervention ad, then my son got into trouble, and then they kept, I found an educational advocate that you don't, it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know, right? Because they were just abusing me, like telling me how, taking me to court, making me pay fines, sending children's services here. Children's services were here so long, I'm not even kidding you, we ordered Chinese food one night and they just stayed because I don't know what they were doing here. And somebody told me, it's ridiculous, somebody told me about this educational advocate, and she said to me, oh, no. She said, if they can't provide safety for your children, they still have to educate your children. So what they would do is they would send a teacher after school. It would be after school. They would send somebody that was, looking to make, because they get paid, right? Nobody's doing anything free. They would come to my house and they would teach my kids for 2-3 hours in our house, because what you don't know, you don't know. They still had to educate my children because they failed to keep them safe.
Right.
Little things you don't know.
Right. You're right.
Okay. So we have somebody else that's wants to join in. I spoke with this woman over the God, I don't know what day it is. There's a few people that have asked me if I'm all right. I'm tired. I worked last night, so I worked. Oh, shit, man. Now that I realize I work like 7 days in a row because I worked last Monday too, so that's why I'm really tired. But
Wow.
that's what it is, and guys, I said that I've had a rough couple days, so I'm not going to get into that, but I'm not going to walk around here like I'm some sort of AI person. Like, yeah. But anyway, this lady reached out to me, and her story isn't so much about addiction. I think it plays a part, but it's about finding the strength to leave a toxic relationship and move on. And I think that that's an important topic as well.
I agree.
Absolutely.
All right, so guys, we're gonna bring Mac up, and you can stay, Gina, if you want to stay. The only thing I asked Gina, somebody recommended that when you're not speaking, if you could shut your mic, like turn the mute on your mic, just when you're not speaking. When you speak, you got to turn it back on.
Okay.
Because somebody seems to think it might be something on your end that's loud or something. I don't know. People in the chat, they're trying to help. They're just trying to help.
Yeah, I'm in my bedroom completely alone. There's absolutely nothing on, but
It could also be just the volume of the thing or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I have no problem with that. If I could figure out how to do it, would be even better.
Yeah, so it'll be right by you see where your name is? You see where we all are on the bottom? There's a microphone. If you just tap that microphone.
Okay.
It should shut up.
So see if that makes a huge difference. I'm going to stop talking and hit it.
We're going to bring Mac on. Hey, how you doing, Mac?
I'm all right, guys. How are you?
I'm okay.
I did respond to your email, by the way. So
yeah, I got it. I checked it out. Thank you for that. For that. That's the only time I've ever heard that name, is why I asked.
Oh no, I get it.
Okay.
Actually, in the classroom, I'm called Coach Mac. So
okay. So you wanted to share your story with me. You heard me talk a little bit about it. So guys, this is Mac.
And guys, it does deal with addiction too, because my ex, he was addicted to alcohol and pain meds. So addiction does play a part in it, kind of thing. So I don't know where to begin, Toddie. Can you kind of give me?
Yeah. So just I just want everybody, you're getting a lot of love here. Just so you know, nobody's here to judge you or anything. And I have to say that, Gina, I'm not hearing anything on my end. So it might have had something to do with maybe the sound or where your mic is on the. It might have just been something odd like that.
You hear it now?
Well, no, it takes usually now I'm starting to hear it again, like that echo thing.
I was trying to figure out if there's anything like in the background, like an air
No,
purifier or anything,
it's
but
not that. I think it's just the volume of your thing. But anyway,
mute it. It's fine. This way we don't have to listen to that.
yeah. So Mac, basically, just start. You got people saying this is a safe space, and that it is. So just start with Well, first of all, it's very important that you understand. I don't want you to talk about anything you don't want to talk about. So, and if anybody asks you a question or if you see something in the comments that you don't want to discuss, then you're not obligated to discuss anything. And just what it took for you to finally leave, a little bit about the background, what you endured, and then what it took for you to finally leave, and where you ended up.
Okay. Well, in 2009, I was married to my husband. We had been dating about a year. In the last 6 months of it, we lived together before we got married. So we kind of knew each other, living situation kind of thing. And he got along with my parents. I got along with his parents, So it was my first marriage. I got married at 34. So it just, how, I don't know if y'all ever seen, like, you don't realize how much you're seeing in that scene. And I think it grew over time. It didn't, I mean, it was the alcoholism and things like that were there, but it just kept progressively getting worse, I want to say. And I think, and then he mixed his pain meds because he had a back injury. He got, we both actually had a back injury. I ended up hurting myself like a month before my wedding in the same spot. It was kind of weird. But our pain management doctor put us on morphine, Mobic, Oxycontin, image. There was like 5 medicines. It was the holy grail of meds. And he really got addicted to those kind of thing. And it was really difficult seeing his transition of having that on top of the alcoholism, which I didn't think it was alcoholism, kind of thing. But there were a lot of things he did. It wasn't until right when I was about to leave him is I got some physical abuse from him. All of it was mental abuse. And the mental abuse was really difficult because when you're in it, you're like, oh, it's not that bad. Or he apologized. He's fine. He's going to get better. I heard those words so many times. And I also heard from him things like, you need the weight loss surgery. You're the reason I drink. So it was a constantly Jekyll and Hyde kind of situation.
Right.
Which is hard to live in, to be honest.
Well, no, it's not. It's not. That's not a normal way to live, just so we understand that. That's not the normal way. So you got to a point where you said, I can't, like, this is not me. This is on you, buddy.
Well, it took me because they say it takes about 7 times to leave somebody. It took me about 3 or 4 because I kept believing that he was going to change because I went to AA with him.
Right.
I was there when he went to outpatient treatment and things like that. My turning point, I want to say, is I moved really far away because I lived with my parents for a little while to work things out. We went to couples therapy, and then I got a job a couple cities away. And that's when I was starting to see more of like how toxic it really was because I got to step away from it more. And I mean, even up there, in my new city, he literally called the police on me because he couldn't get a hold of me for a day. So I had to, he would expect me to come home every weekend to be with him, even though I was living a couple cities away, but he would never come visit me, so it was very difficult to pull that Band-Aid, so to speak. And I feel like it's worth it. at first,
So don't jump the gun. Don't. You wanted me to help you tell your story. Don't jump the gun. We know it's worth it, but we want to get there.
Right. No, I know. I'm just
So-
trying to say is like, don't think even after you do it, you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm glad I did it kind of thing. That's all I'm saying is like, you still question yourself.
Yeah,
all
I
I'm
think
saying.
we always go through doubt, but so my question is, what was there was a moment that made you pivot, a moment that said, no, I'm not carrying your baggage anymore. This is your baggage. This is not my baggage. What was that moment? If it was a moment.
Right. I mean, I'd probably say when I lived in the other city and I came home and what I had to endure when I came home because I was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I would come definitely home during the holiday season. The holiday seasons are, of course, worse. So I think one of the last holidays I spent with him probably was one of my turning points. But also when he had some surgery on his knee, and he called me the night before, told me he brought somebody home, but nothing happened. I mean, it's like, how do you respond to that? First of all. And then when I confronted him about it the next day, he laughed at me because he said, "Oh, that was just a joke."
Mm-hmm.
So
So everything was gone, the trust and everything. There was no coming back from that.
yeah, and so and then from there, I think that's when I started really be like, okay, do I really want to keep trying to work this out? Is it worth my health and mental space to keep working this out? And I know I'm sorry, my nose is messed up. I have a major sinus infection, I think. So
Nope, you're good.
I see someone in the chat. So, but
Okay.
it's okay. Yeah, it's fine. I get it. But I think the main point I want y'all to take away from my story
I
is
think what SB is saying is, if you're crying, it's okay. You know, we're all here.
okay.
I think that's what she was saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
not yet. And last time I saw him when I was trying to move my stuff, he put a sword around my neck that he had on the wall. And then he also showed my mom one of his guns and forgot it was loaded. Luckily, neither of us got hurt that day.
Yeah, so that would be the turning point. There's the pivot right there.
Yep.
That's the catalyst for that move.
Yep. And I had a skate bag for months, and I used it. And he kept doing all kind of mental stuff, like he would say, "I want to set our house on fire so that way he can collect the insurance money." So constantly I'm thinking, like, is my house going to be there when I get home?
Right.
So my supposedly safe place, is getting turmoil too.
So how did you finally put an end to it? Did you call the police on him? Did he get arrested? What happened there?
I gave him the divorce papers, but I was with my dad when I did. My brother is a lieutenant for the police force, but he would never help me with that situation. He and I have a estranged relationship, but I just did it pretty much myself, a lot of it. And then we tried to stay, and then the next day after the official divorce, he actually got arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, not on me, but somebody else, and called me from jail.
There you go.
So, and of course I didn't answer.
Lucky you, man. Lucky you. Lucky you.
Yeah.
Lucky you that it wasn't the other person. Okay.
Yeah, as far as I know. But then he got out of jail from that. And then we tried to somehow have because we were still trying to, we had to figure out like if we're selling the house, all those details after divorce. And after we finally get everything kind of settled, he actually ended up passing away in 2000 and I want to say 19 or 2020. He was dead on his boat. The harbor master found him on his boat and he passed away. And I was told about it and from one of his friends, and his friends they didn't have his family number, so I had to call family members and tell them, which was not an easy thing to do. To tell that their brother and son had passed away. So
And how long ago was that?
it was before COVID, so around like 2019. So it's been a minute.
Yeah, how are you doing now?
I'm in process. I'm doing a lot better now, but it took me a while to get to the point I'm at.
Right.
I had to do a lot of healing, mentally, and just also the biggest thing I think for me I still struggle with is trusting myself to make good decisions. I think that's the hardest, because when you're in that situation, it's like, why did I put myself in that situation? What was I thinking?
I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that. I think that a lot of people can relate to making decisions and then having time come and we look back and say, man, that was probably a bad call. You know what I'm saying? And that's all about growth.
Yep.
That's all about growth.
And I have to say, I'm off all my pain meds.
Good for you.
I got myself off. I didn't go through the doctor, which is probably a bad thing, but I got myself off all those pain meds because he should even put me on the patch, and I was a zombie with that. I was like, I can't live like that. And so I think some of it played into a part to that, like enduring his stuff kind of thing. So,
right.
And he was diabetic too. So he would literally use that as a weapon. Like, I would work 10 or 12 hours a day, and then he'd be like, where's dinner? I didn't eat anything because you weren't home.
Yeah.
So I constantly had, like I said, a Jekyll high. I didn't know who I'd come home to every night, and that was difficult. So
yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made it out of that. I'm sorry. I don't know what do I say? I'm sorry that it ended the way it ended. Maybe I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know what would have happened to you. That I don't know.
Well, I look at it as a way, even though I had to endure it, but a way I can help other people with my story.
That's it.
And kind of like Allison from Alice in Chains, he said his drug addiction was so huge, but now he's found God, and that's why he went through that. Sorry, my dog likes to bark.
That's not me, guys. That's not me.
That he got his life together. He says, so I can share my story to young people and help them get prevented.
Who did that? Who said that?
Alice in Chains.
Alice in Chains, the group?
Mm-hmm.
You mean Perry Farrell?
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Yep.
All right. I'm sorry. I can't get this to
Can I
show.
ask a question?
Sure.
So do you think that if it hadn't gotten physical for you, you would have had the strength to walk away, or do you think that you would have just thought it was it was just you, and you would have just stayed and taken it until it was just over?
I think it wasn't the hurting me that was my main reason. It was more of just that I was able to step away far enough away, like I was 2 cities away, so I could see more. Because when you're in it, you don't think it's that bad, or he's going to be changed. Those things are the things that run in your head. I think if I had not taken that job in another city, I would have probably still been in it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. It sounds like you're still like struggling a little bit, but the fact that you were able to do that is pretty impressive. So I'm happy for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
Yeah,
I do say believe in community, even if it's you don't say anything to them, but have a good community helps a lot too. So
thank you for sharing your story. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? Was there any kind of help for you there? Was there any kind of group that Was there any kind of help for you or no, or you just didn't check into it?
I had a priest try to help me.
Okay.
That's how I developed this escape plan because of
Okay.
her.
That's cool.
And then, but there wasn't, it's, and I was lucky I had parents that loved me. And,
Right.
because it would have been so much harder. I would have not had anywhere to go if I didn't. I think there are resources out there, but sometimes also the shame part. It's like, I shouldn't be in this situation kind of thing happens too. But I think a lot of it is just so hard to ask for help. I have trouble asking for help, to be honest. I've always.
Well, if you
I've
don't trust anybody, you can't ask for help, can you?
exactly. And they help make you quiet. Let me tell you. I mean, I was telling Toddie when we talked the other night that I literally remembered when I first laughed again, and that was a lot. That was a pivotal moment too for me for the healing process, because I couldn't even do that because I was always afraid of what I said or what I didn't say and things like that. So actually being able to laugh was a huge thing.
Yeah, that's important. That's definitely important. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your story, and I appreciate that, and I think that a lot of people can relate to when is enough, and because we've all been in abusive relationships, unfortunately, whether they be emotional or mental, and usually they come from the home. I mean, they come from the family that we are born from.
Yep.
I mean, I don't need to tell you guys, we all come from families. There's a bunch of drama behind us, but just you got to just keep holding on. The scenery is going to change. You got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you're totally fucked.
Right.
You're just and you got to embrace the things that are even your weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that, well, that's so that they're not your weakness. If people will villainize and use ammunition and say the most hurtful things, because it's kind of like the only way I can even try to understand it is when people do that self-harm, and finally when they make themselves bleed, supposedly it makes them feel better. I've never been into self-harm, but sometimes the word frig just doesn't cover it, and the word fuck makes me feel better. And I'm guilty of saying things, not so much anymore. I'm older, thank God, but I was guilty of saying things to be hurtful when I was in my 20s and 30s, and to get a reaction. And, I'm so grateful that I got the help, because I saw it in a sibling, and I said, man, that's me. And I went and got help. So if you recognize that in yourself, don't ignore that. We're not perfect. We have to understand what we're bringing to the table as well, and and take responsibilities for our shit before we even begin to look over at the other person's mess. But the thing is that you can't take, everybody's going to give you their bags to unpack. Nobody wants to carry their own load, seriously. And if you put out your hands, they're going to fucking hand you their suitcase. And sometimes you haven't unpacked your own shit. Like, that's a mess right there, metaphorically and literally. So you got to kind of figure it out a little bit, but you got to embrace the things that you've learned from in the past. Like, I'm not ashamed of my drug use in the past, because, first of all, it made me understand things a lot better. And man, sometimes I do just wish this phone would stop. Sometimes you know, it makes me think that, wow, you know, it helps me understand and have compassion, because I can understand and have compassion about it and remember what it was like. So it's important, but I couldn't be ashamed of it, because somebody's going to take that out and throw that at me, you know, and sometimes it's family, you know, like I've said, man, I was a drug addict for, and I wasn't. I abused drugs for 3 years, and I paid for it for fucking 20. Like, come on. How, you know what I'm saying? So, but I think you do have to pay for it, because see, it's up to you as long as you used, because while you were using, you actually hurt a bunch of people around you, and you fucked up trust. You know, if the user did that, you know, they messed up the trust because they didn't show up when they were supposed to show up, and they fabricated, oh, I can't show up, I'm not feeling good. And it might be true that they weren't feeling good because they didn't have anything to get them high. But, you know, you gotta, you just gotta, you know, just don't forget who you are, and you gotta embrace and use it for the betterment. But don't let people like throw and weaponize your past, especially if you've made the growth. So many people use an excuse, well, you figure I'm using anyway. I remember I used to, because I have sinus problems as well, a lot more before I had a deviated septum repaired. And I remember every time it was like I would be accused of doing drugs because my nose was running. It was something that the whole family had, but all of a sudden, because I had a drug problem in the past, and that makes you. And I shared mine. I didn't. They didn't like find out per se. You know what I mean? So, you know, and you can't. But this was a long time ago. You have to be confident. Confidence is such an important, not cocky, confident is such an important part of somebody's being. I mean, that is the thing that if somebody tries to knock them down, that is the hold that keeps you stationary. And in order to be confident, you have to recognize who you are. You can't bullshit yourself. You have to understand, okay, well, I would have a weakness about this. I would, especially when you're older, and we have an older group here. You know what I'm saying? The age is a bigger group here. So we have to protect ourselves by, like I said last week, no, there's people that are in recovery. I don't recommend them going and being a drugs counselor. Why did I say that? Because I lost 2 friends, you know, in a short period of time, because they weren't ready to be drug counselors. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have to be confident, you have to be sure, and you have to at least come to terms with the stuff that you've done in your past. So when people do go ahead and try to throw it at you as a weakness, you catch that shit. You dealt with that shit. You know what I'm saying? You dealt with that shit. And the way you handle that will let them know, and they'll be taken aback by it. Oh, whoa, who's this person? You know what I'm saying? And you know, you are going to change when you stop having, especially with drugs. I have to say this, when you stop, because it's become your whole life. So a drug addict isn't just somebody, this is a drug addict. I'm not talking just about somebody that is an occasional recreational user. I'm talking about a drug addict, somebody that you know, like I say I wasn't an addict, but I needed COKE every day. You know, I don't know that I needed it, but I wanted it every day. So I mean, it was a job to make sure that I had it every day. Like you said, you're creative. Gina said, you know, you get a lot of shit done. It's a full-time job being a drug addict. It is. It's a full-time job. You know, yeah, and you become very creative about it. You know what I'm saying? And even if you, after you go to therapy, you can use that as a benefit in your life. You're not going to use that behavior badly, but you can use like the intuition to go forward and use it as something positive. That's like last week or the week before when we were talking about the tools and people's tool chest and stuff, if people had the tools and to go about it, that's when you start doing that after you've gone to some sort of program and you've been clean for a while and but I don't know why I'm rambling on. I'm exhausted, but the truth, I mean, it's just, listen, people are the first people. Everybody wants a distraction. Nobody likes their life so much so that they're saying, because we don't know these people. These people to me are the millionaires that live these perfect lives, or as you said, Rebecca, the people on the hill that you think appear that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then you have people that are struggling, and nobody wants to believe that, oh, we're the one with the problem. It still isn't a good look. It's the way it is, but it still isn't a good look. And everybody wants to look across the street as opposed to their own fucking house.
Right.
Because it's easier for them to deal with your shit than it is for them to deal with their own shit. In the meantime, they could be dealing with the same shit.
Exactly.
So, and that's why this is very important, this group that we have, and why I think it would be a really good thing to have like a network of channels because I think that there's a lot of people that could benefit, but
world is hurting. Our world is hurting, and we need help that hurting, and not use. And instead of breaking each other apart, we need to straighten the people with their crowds, straighten their crowds, because they're worth it. And we need to keep helping people that need our help.
Exactly what Gutter Snipe is saying here. Absolutely. So my email's toddie1skip@gmail.com. Silverwolf. Toddie1skip@gmail.com. I.e. Toddie. So that's exactly what it is. You got to own your own life and not let anybody have anything over on you. I'm not saying that if you don't have a good partner, if you have a good partner, obviously sharing your life is a good thing. So don't be afraid to share your life. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that this would be a good thing for people that are they just need that boost, that, like you said, Mac, not tearing people down, but building people up, and letting them know their value and their worth. But that shouldn't be dependent on us even. It should be your thing. And I am not a counselor. And as far as I know, again, none of us are counselors up here. I benefited so much from therapy. I've been twice, and I've benefited so much, and I highly recommend it. Even the virtual therapy now, that sometimes you could get at such a ridiculously cheap price, and I think it's so well worth it. You're just investing in yourself. We go through, I was a writer. I told you guys, man, I've struggled with that because that was such a big part of my life, and I don't know where it went. And so now, it's been years, and I needed to, because my whole life had changed of it. I lived and breathed writing, you know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden the desire to do it was like gone. And I didn't know what to do with all the time, all the energy, and the love that I had for it, and how I missed it, and how I defined myself by it. And I still look back on it and say, man, I don't know what happened to it, but God, I was in love with it. I was in love with it for 25, 30 years. You know what I'm saying? But I went to therapy to figure out that. And because now that might seem like a ridiculous thing, but it wasn't to me, because that was a huge factor. And I had to figure out, who the fuck am I at? If I'm not a writer, if I said that I was a writer before I was a human, and now I don't have the desire, who am I? What am I? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So when we don't feel right, we have to check in and get ourselves right. We are worth that. And if we don't think we're worth it, we certainly are not going to have boundaries when it comes to people, because again, they will give you their fucking bags to unpack. And here's what I was going to say. I don't think it's so hard, to be honest with you, to live an empowered good life. I don't think it's hard at all. I think it's very much like being on a surfboard. There's balance. It just takes balance. And also to know your limitations and your boundaries, and to know where you're safe and where you're confident. Like you had said, Mac, well, I don't know if I could start this story, Toddie. I have the confidence now to go ahead with telling the story, but I really don't know how to go ahead and tell the story. Yeah, but you have the confidence to tell the story. Look, you have the confidence to tell the story. You only needed help the one time. You know what I'm saying? The one time just to get you started, and then, you know what I'm saying? That's your story. And look at how far you've come. So that you got to have that confidence, which you have, which now probably has helped at least one person.
And that's all I
If
want
it
to
didn't
do.
help one person in the 56 people that are watching this, then when people do the rewatch, it's going to help somebody.
Right.
And that's the importance of this. I think so.
And also, guys, counseling is a great tool, guys. It's not something to be ashamed of, but also know that you want to find the right counselor too. Not the first one you get might not be the right one. Don't think you have to stay with that counselor. Because
Yeah, but give them a chance.
give them a chance.
Please
But
give them a
there's
chance, because my great, and I know I'm interrupting a lot. I don't mean to. My great counselor from this last time, I was telling somebody like a month into this counselor, man, I got to get rid of this counselor. Like, I don't think this counselor is any good for me. And it just took a minute for it to click. It just took like the 5th or 6th time. So please don't just jump the gun. Give people a chance, because they're just getting to know you too. They're
Right.
just getting to know you too.
I went through several. I had, I had a few, and a couple of them very early on after I lost Corey. I started, and it was, COVID and all that. So everything was virtual. And this first counselor they gave me, a therapist, he wanted to do these breathing exercises. And so he would tell me, breathe in, breathe out. And we'd go through this for about 10 minutes. And he would say, so how you feeling now? And I'd say, well, I'm still pissed off. I'm still like, this is what he did every session, this breathing stuff. And I finally said, dude, listen, I know how to effing breathe. That's not like I said, I'm done with you. Like, you're making me mad. This isn't working. And I had to go through probably 5 therapists before I got the right one. And then, wouldn't you know, I had been talking to this one for the past 2 years, and then he went out of network. So my insurance he doesn't take my insurance anymore.
Of course not.
Get a new one, and then you go through the whole thing. Is it a good fit? Is it not? So it's tough, but you have to give them a chance. And I think, with the breathing guy, I gave him maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and I was over it. I knew how to breathe. I didn't want to breathe. I wanted to talk about what was upsetting me. And he wasn't talking. We were breathing. And I thought, yeah, this isn't going to work. But yeah, you do have to give them a chance. You can't just say after the first session, oh, this isn't working. You got to give it time, and then you'll know. And it's okay to say it's not working and use someone else.
Yeah, I got to tell you something. The breathing works for me. Like, I don't remember which therapist was the one, but and the thing for me, the reason why they had me do it was because they wanted me to be grounded in the moment. That's why they were having me breathe. Just breathe in and breathe out. And I was like, "What? Just we want." And she said, because I just want you to be aware of where you are in this moment.
Right. I mean, I get there's benefits to that, but I don't think that was the right place to start with me because I wanted to talk about this horrible thing that had happened to me.
Right.
And he never was giving me the opportunity. We just did this breathing thing. And I was like, when are we going to talk about what's bothering me?
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's
I
just,
can see where people could be intimidated, not for you, but the story.
yeah,
Because I don't think a lot of people have dealt with that story as far as especially Corey's story.
yeah, I think that it probably was a lot for anybody to wrap their head around, even a therapist or even my psychiatrist for that matter. I mean, I'm not like tooting my own horn, but I dealt with a lot of trauma within a short amount of time. I mean, I was injured at my job. My father passed away. Corey was being abused and then murdered. And then my son passed away. And this all happened within a short amount of time. So it was when you pour that out to somebody, they have to kind of think, okay, how do we, what do we start with? I think it was intimidating to most people that had to deal with me. I get it.
Jamie, I'm leaving you a note here in the chat.
And Toddie, thank you for letting me come on and tell my story. I appreciate
Matt,
it.
thank you for coming up. I'm gonna drop you down.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I appreciate y'all listening, and I hope that if someone needs to talk to somebody about it, I'm here. So Toddie has my information. So, but I want to get the word out, and so
Thank you, Matt.
at that point. I'm at that point because I know, like you said, someone being a counselor after getting off drugs, you need that time, that space to still work on yourself, even after you do something. Step away. I've had my step away for about 5 years now, so and I'm glad for it. So,
and we're glad for it too. You did a great, I think ultimately you would have found it in you to leave, even after, I don't think you give yourself enough credit there. So, but
it's a tough battle because there's a song out right now called "The Truth" by Megan Woods, and I feel like that fits me quite a bit. If you ever listen to that song, and I think it kind of sums up some of the stuff. But I had to get it took a lot for me, yeah. But again, I wasn't sure. I was like, even after the divorce, guys, I was like, is this the right thing to do? Did I not do enough? Did I, try to make it work? Did I, all those things? And
yeah, you got a lot of love here in the chat.
And I appreciate that, guys. I really do. And I teach high school, so I try to really help guide these high school kids to know that they're worth it. I tell them all the time. And I always tell, and I teach online, so I have kids that are institutionalized or have addictions and stuff like that too. So I just feel like I'm hoping that I could be at least some small light for them, at least that they know that they can accomplish things in their life. So I just want to thank you again, and but yeah, they probably are going to be starting to look for me soon.
Okay, well, thank you, Mac. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming up.
And if anybody needs me, and Toddie, thank you again for this opportunity. I really do appreciate it. I was nervous to ask you this. Honestly. I was nervous.
I'm glad that you came on and did this. This story's going to help a lot of people, I believe. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So then there were 3. Yeah, she reached out to me, and yeah, that's a brave story.
It is.
So anybody that's got a story for next week, please hit me up. You can see it doesn't hurt. And I got to tell you, I'm certainly not upset with anybody who's not using the avatar. I mean, I'm using the avatar. I'm here. I'm just exhausted. I'm just really friggin' tired here. But yeah, see, My eyes are like slits. But I'm really surprised that the people that have come on, nobody's used the avatar. People are willing to tell their story and just show themselves, and I love that. I think that that's something to applaud.
I do too.
And I mean, I think that that's also confidence and like claiming that they're getting their life back, and or you know what I mean. So that's just I really like that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. My Toddie, my daughter is at your disposal. She will come on if you want her. And you know, Rebecca, I was just thinking of what you just said about the therapist when you were going through all that. When I met you guys, when we joined and we came with our signs and our homemade shirts, I never approached you guys. None of us did. You were on one side of the corner. Even when we did other things that we were in the same room, I never approached you or Brie. It was so big, and that there was I couldn't imagine one thing that I could say to you to make anything, so I get that. It's like, what do you say to someone that's got one hit, that's the grief and is so big. And it just amazes me that you guys are as amazing and has fought the way that you have. It's very, very impressive, I have to say. And I know that people probably say to you all the time, and I think about this, and it's a strange thing that's in my brain. Where somebody has said to me, you can do this. When I'm saying I just can't do anymore. I'm done. They're like, nah, you're the strongest person I know. You're strong. And I think, am I the strongest person, or did I just survive something? Something that, did I just survive it, and maybe I'm not so strong? But
Right.
you and Brie, I can't even get words out.
Thank you. You know, I don't know if you call it strength or just knowing that you have to be here. You have to fight the fight. That's what
What
it was
choice
all
do you
about.
really have, right? I mean, like, what
Yeah.
choice?
I can tell you that if we didn't fight, um, Chris Greger wouldn't be in prison. He would have been out already because he would have only been charged with child endangerment. And I know that's not what this channel's about, but it's part of everything. If we would have sat down and kept quiet, it would have went away. And
I'm listening to you. I don't know what happened to Gina. I'm sure she's still.
yeah, I just, I had no choice but to do what I did. And
I don't know what my phone's doing.
because, like I said, it would have went away, and, that would have been that. But, it's just, I don't know if a lot of you probably don't know this, but Gino passed away. It was March 18th, but it was just after midnight, St. Patrick's Day. So it was technically March 18th. We had a court hearing for Corey's case the next morning. We had to be in Toms River. And I mean, the coroner had just taken Gino out of our house at about 3 a.m. And we said, well, Brianna's like, I got to call the prosecutor's office and tell them we're not coming. I said, Bree, we're going. Gino's not here. Why sit home? We still have to go. And do you know, we appeared in court hours after Gino passed away in my house in front of us. We still went to that court hearing because I felt we had to be there. And they couldn't believe that we were there, and shared the news. They'd seen it on Facebook, whatever. And I said, well, what good was I going to do sitting home? Gino's not there. They took him, that was that, and I think back like, wow, should I have gone? Should we have canceled? What, I don't know how we did half of what we did. And I don't know how I still carry on today. I don't know how I do this. I just do it. I don't think about it. I just get up and I go on. I have several moments though, I struggle, but then, I just have bad days like everybody else, and then you just go back at it. I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah, agreed. Still a lot. It's still a lot for,
It is. It is. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy, but what's the alternative? To just sit down and let everybody walk all over you, and, lay down and die. I mean,
yeah,
what else do I?
tempting sometimes, right? Like you just want to curl up, but you just can't, and it's just, or something in you just won't let you. It's the same thing here. Like I get make sure I'm out of that bed no matter what. It's like, nope, no, not getting me today. It's not happening.
Exactly, and that's what I do. I like to, there are days when all I do is think about what happened, but I also know that there are my children and my grandchild who are here that I need to be present for, so that's what keeps you going, even when you don't feel like it. Brianna was a mess. I mean, I couldn't possibly crumble. I had to be there to hold her up. And I knew that, and that's what kept me going and still does. I have to be there for her and my other daughter and my son and my granddaughter, I have to be there. I have to make sure they're okay. So.
Which is a lot on your shoulders. But like you said, what's the alternative?
Right.
The alternative is just not an option. It makes no sense, but
Right.
still hard in the moment.
It is. And, we talk about this on the channel often. I don't have an addiction to any drugs or anything. My addiction is kind of like food or coffee, but I can see if someone was dealing with this, how you would turn to your vice, to your drugs, or, I totally get it.
No, me too. I understand it.
I can, I always bring up, like for my son, Gino, something as simple as McDonald's messing up his order would trigger him to use. And I know that sounds silly if you haven't experienced it, but I guess I kind of get it. And, I mean, let's face it, addicts, I think, are always looking for a reason to use, something to blame it on, so they don't maybe make everyone, I think it makes it easier for them if they convince themselves that it's because of this or because of that. But like I said, with Gino, somebody could pull out in traffic in front of him and that's going to trigger him. The McDonald's order, it could be something so ridiculous that you or I could handle. But
yeah, no, we have a different kind of addiction, I think. Ours, like everybody, I think in my house, my brother told me I'm the worst kind of addict because I've never used, I don't actually have, this physical or whatever, dependency. It isn't one thing. I'm completely addicted to the surroundings, to the chaos, to the saving, to my children's addiction. Like he said, you're really like the worst kind of addict because what do you do? Because it's almost like, am I creating situations, for my addiction? Is my panic me watching them and hovering over them and running around with my so-called pillow? Is that making it worse for them?
Right.
You mean like enabling them?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was definitely an enabler without a doubt, codependent, like you name it. Like my even though I knew giving my daughter money, my son money, whatever the case was, even though I knew what they were doing with it, and I've had someone say to me, you're going to feel really bad when they take that money and they go over the OD, and and that's going to be the end of it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, I feel bad anyway. I'm going to feel bad if I don't. I'm going to feel bad if I do, and I'm going to feel bad if they have to figure out another way to get it, which I don't want to even,
Well, here's the thing, like you can only do it this time one way. I mean, you can only do it one way this time, and you want it to be the right way because you think of, oh my God, what if I get a phone call and this happened because I didn't help? How would I live with myself? And what it is you try to sit, and it's not even necessarily the best decision for that person. It's the best decision for you. How
Right.
could you live with yourself? You know, so, and that's very important. Very important.
Agreed.
Anyway, does anybody else got anything to say, or I'm going to go to bed?
Yeah, you should definitely get some sleep.
Yeah,
Haven't
you
done
need
it.
rest.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should network for sure. And my daughter is like I said, my daughter is available. She,
Yeah, I'd love to hear her story.
her perspective on it and not all mine,
Yeah,
my,
no, I'd love to hear her story. Could she come maybe next week? I don't know if we have any stories next week.
yep, she absolutely can.
Okay, cool beans. Can she just email me? Is that possible?
Yes, she can.
Okay, great.
Oh, that'll be great. I'd love to hear it from her view.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
I would.
Without me hovering and jumping in would be good for her, right?
Well,
We'd
that's
love
what
to
we
hear
do.
it.
I know. I know.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, guys. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate this.
Well, I appreciate
Happy
you
you
coming
were
on
here.
here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All
All right,
right.
guys, I'm going to go to bed. So thank you guys. Rebecca, could you reach out to me later?
Yes, I
Okay.
know you don't want to talk right now. We'll do it later.
It's just because I don't have the bandwidth to talk right
No,
now. I'm
you go
exhausted.
just rest and we'll talk later.
Yeah, I
It's
got to go to the
Thank you.
pharmacy later, so I'm going to give you a call. I'll probably give you a call and we could talk on the way to the pharmacy, Rebecca, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. I'll speak
All
to you
right,
later then.
guys.
Bye. Thank you, Gina. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to hearing from your daughter.
Of course, I'll tell her right now. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
everyone. See you
Bye.
next
All right.
week.
Bye.
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 Bye.